Captain Do-hyun Kim stared out the window of his spaceship, the Star Trader, watching the stars drift by. He was bored. Very bored. The regular trading business wasn't making much money, and his crew needed to be paid. His last 3 business ideas had failed, and now he needed something new. "Captain, we're approaching the Kairos space station," said Jae-yun Park, his first officer. She stood at attention, her crisp uniform making Do-hyun's wrinkled clothes look even messier. "The cargo of farming equipment is ready for delivery." Do-hyun nodded without enthusiasm. Another delivery of boring machines to boring farmers. He spun his captain's chair around, remembering the good old days back on Earth. Now those were exciting times, when he ran the most successful underground fight club in Seoul. The sounds of the crowd, the thrill of the matches, the excitement of... He sat up suddenly. Jae-yun took a step back, recognizing the look on his face. It was the same look he had before every bad idea. "Jae-yun, I just realized something amazing." Do-hyun jumped up from his chair. "Every planet we visit has the same problem. People are bored, just like me." He started pacing around the bridge, his energy growing with each step. "And what do bored people need? Entertainment." "Captain, please tell me you're not thinking what I think you're thinking," Jae-yun said, rubbing her temples. "Think about it. We visit 6 different planets every month. Each planet has thousands of bored people. And what's the one thing that gets people excited everywhere in the universe?" He didn't wait for an answer. "Fighting. Controlled, safe, exciting fighting." Jae-yun's eyes widened. "Captain, starting an underground fight club is illegal on Earth. It's probably illegal on other planets too." "Probably. But we don't know for sure, do we?" Do-hyun grinned. "And besides, we wouldn't be starting a fight club. We'd be organizing cultural exchange events, athletic competitions, social gatherings with optional physical activities." The ship's computer beeped, announcing their arrival at Kairos Station. Through the window, they could see the desert planet below, its orange surface dotted with mining colonies and small cities. "Look at that planet, Jae-yun," Do-hyun said, pressing his hands against the window like an excited child. "All those miners and workers, stuck in their boring jobs. They need something fun, something exciting, something like..." "Please don't say it," Jae-yun groaned. "Space Fight Club." Do-hyun spread his arms wide. "Our first event will be here. I can feel it. This is going to be huge." Jae-yun watched as her captain pulled up information about Kairos on his tablet, muttering about possible locations and potential fighters. She had served with him for 3 years, through failed attempts at selling luxury pets, starting a space restaurant chain, and most recently, trying to create a delivery service for emergency party supplies. "Captain," she said carefully, "maybe we should check the local laws first, and possibly consider the cultural implications, and maybe think about what happens when people get hurt." Yes, absolutely," Do-hyun said, clearly not listening. He was already drawing plans on his tablet. "We'll need a secure location, somewhere private. Maybe one of those abandoned mining facilities." He looked up at Jae-yun with bright eyes. "How fast can you get me a list of empty buildings in the main colony?" Jae-yun sighed and walked to her station. There was no stopping him when he got like this. The best she could do was try to keep him out of too much trouble. She began searching for abandoned facilities, making a mental note to also research local security patrols and medical facilities. They were probably going to need both. "This is it, Jae-yun," Do-hyun said, practically bouncing with excitement. "This is the business idea that's going to make us rich. What could possibly go wrong?" Jae-yun looked at her captain's happy face and decided not to answer that question. She had a feeling they were going to find out soon enough. The abandoned mining facility on Kairos wasn't much to look at from the outside. Its metal walls were covered in orange desert dust, and its windows were dark. But inside, it was a different story. Do-hyun stood in what used to be the main processing room, now transformed into a fighting arena. The space was lit with portable lights they had borrowed from the ship's cargo hold. Around him, a crowd of miners, dock workers, and various other people cheered as two fighters circled each other in the makeshift ring. "This is better than I imagined," Do-hyun said to Jae-yun, who was monitoring the entrance through a security camera feed. "Look at how happy everyone is." Security officer Hae-nul Lee is making another patrol near the area, Jae-yun reported, ignoring his excitement. "That's the third time today. I think they suspect something." Do-hyun waved his hand dismissively. The local security is too busy with real crimes to care about a few people having fun after work. He turned his attention back to the fight, where a tall dock worker was facing off against a stocky miner. The crowd roared as the two fighters exchanged blows. Do-hyun had set up simple rules: no weapons, no serious injuries, and most importantly, no telling anyone outside about the fights. To his surprise, everyone followed these rules perfectly. Maybe too perfectly. "Captain," Jae-yun called out suddenly, "we have a problem. Someone's approaching the back entrance." Do-hyun rushed to her monitoring station. On the screen, a figure in a security uniform was walking toward the building's rear door. It was Officer Hae-nul Lee. "Everyone quiet," Do-hyun shouted. The crowd immediately fell silent, and the fighters stopped mid-match. Years of running underground events had taught him how to control a room. Security check. You know the drill. The crowd moved with practiced efficiency. Within minutes, the fighting ring was dismantled. The lights were dimmed, and people were filing out through the emergency exits. Do-hyun had to admit he was impressed. These space colonists learned the routines faster than his old Earth customers. Officer Hae-nul Lee entered the building just as the last few people disappeared. The security officer's flashlight beam cut through the darkness, illuminating empty crates and dusty machinery. "Good evening, officer," Do-hyun called out cheerfully, stepping into view. "Can I help you?" Hae-nul's flashlight focused on him. "Captain Kim, I'm surprised to find you here, far from the spaceport, in an abandoned building at this hour." "Just checking out some real estate," Do-hyun said smoothly. "My first officer and I are considering starting a storage business." Jae-yun appeared beside him, holding a tablet. "We're conducting a facility survey," she added professionally. "The captain believes this location has potential." Hae-nul looked around slowly, the flashlight beam revealing nothing but ordinary mining equipment. "We've had reports of unusual activity in this area. Large groups of people coming and going. Strange noises." "Really?" Do-hyun tried to look surprised. "Well, we haven't seen anything unusual." "Have we, Jae-yun?" "Nothing at all, Captain," Jae-yun replied, her face perfectly neutral. Hae-nul studied them both for a long moment. "Just remember, Captain Kim, that Kairos has strict laws about unauthorized gatherings and unlicensed entertainment venues." "Good to know," Do-hyun said brightly, "though I can't imagine why that would matter for a simple storage business." After Hae-nul left, Do-hyun turned to Jae-yun with a grin. "See, nothing to worry about. We just need to be more careful about noise levels." Jae-yun checked her tablet. "Captain, we have 6 more fight nights scheduled this week, and the number of participants has doubled. We can't keep using this location." "You're right," Do-hyun said thoughtfully. "We need a bigger space." He pulled up a map of the colony on his tablet. "Look at this. There's an even larger abandoned facility in the northern sector. And it's underground. Perfect for sound control." Jae-yun looked at her captain's excited face and sighed. She could already tell this was going to get much bigger and much more complicated. Before it was over, the ocean world of Meridian sparkled like a blue jewel in space. Do-hyun's ship, the Star Trader, descended through the clouds toward one of the floating cities that dotted the planet's endless sea. He was still feeling pleased about his success on Kairos, where his underground fights had become so popular that he had to start turning people away. "The local calendar shows this is the season of the Great Calm," Jae-yun said, reading from her tablet. It appears to be an important cultural event. Perfect, Do-hyun exclaimed. People will be looking for entertainment during their festival. Captain, I really think we should learn more about, Jae-yun started, but Do-hyun was already walking away, typing messages on his communicator. Their ship landed at one of the floating docks. The city around them was beautiful, with tall buildings that seemed to grow out of the ocean itself. Blue and white flags flew everywhere, and the streets were quiet. Too quiet. Where is everyone? Do-hyun wondered as they walked through the empty streets. This should be a busy trading port. A local resident approached them. He wore flowing blue robes with silver decorations. Welcome to Meridian. I am Yoon-gae Choi, a cultural advisor. You seem confused by our empty streets. Yes, actually, Do-hyun said. I was expecting more activity. We're planning to organize some cultural exchange events. Yoon-gae smiled politely. You must not know. The season of great calm is our most sacred time. For 3 months, we avoid all conflict and seek perfect peace. Even raised voices are considered inappropriate. Do-hyun's face fell slightly, but then he noticed something. Behind Yoon-gae, a group of young Meridians were watching them with great interest. They wore the same blue robes as everyone else, but their expressions showed boredom and restlessness. 3 months of complete calm. Do-hyun asked. That must be challenging for some people. Our younger generation sometimes struggles with the traditional ways, Yoon-gae admitted, but they learn to appreciate the peace. Later that evening, in an unused underwater maintenance facility, Do-hyun addressed a crowd of young Meridians. They had removed their blue robes, revealing normal clothes underneath. Their eyes were bright with excitement. Remember, Do-hyun told them, this is a cultural exchange program. We're learning about different forms of physical meditation. The young Meridians nodded eagerly. One of them stepped into the makeshift ring, followed by another. The fight began quietly at first, but soon the crowd forgot about being quiet. The sound of cheering echoed through the underwater chamber. Captain, Jae-yun said urgently, the noise is carrying through the water. Someone will hear. Impossible, Do-hyun replied. We're too deep underwater. The facility's door slid open. Yoon-gae stood there, along with several elderly Meridians in elaborate robes. Their faces showed shock and disappointment. What is the meaning of this? One of the elders demanded. During the season of great calm, the young fighters froze. The crowd fell silent. Do-hyun stepped forward with his most charming smile. This is a cultural misunderstanding, he began. We're simply demonstrating traditional earth meditation techniques. These are our children, another elder said, breaking our most sacred traditions. But then something unexpected happened. One of the young Meridians stepped forward. Why must we sit in silence for 3 months? She asked. Our ancestors built these cities by being active and strong. We honor their memory by staying strong too. Other young voices joined in. Soon, the maintenance facility was filled with a heated debate about tradition versus progress. Do-hyun tried to slip away during the confusion, but Yoon-gae stopped him. Captain Kim, Yoon-gae said quietly, you have started something here. Whether it is good or bad, I do not know, but it cannot be undone. Do-hyun looked at the arguing Meridians, then at Jae-yun's worried face. Maybe this time, he had gone too far. Or maybe, just maybe, he had accidentally started a needed cultural revolution. Time to go, he asked Jae-yun. Time to go, she agreed firmly. Do-hyun sat in his captain's chair, reading messages from his growing network of Fight Club organizers. After the events on Meridian, word had spread about his underground fighting events. Now he had regular matches happening on 3 different planets. Captain, Jae-yun called from her station. You need to see this. She showed him a video from their last event on Karos. The camera showed their usual crowd, but something was different. Several people were wearing matching black jackets with a silver logo. SK Elite Fighting Circuit. Someone is copying us, Do-hyun asked, frowning. Not copying, competing. Jae-yun pulled up more information. Her name is Soo-min Kang. She used to run luxury entertainment venues on Earth. Now she's organizing fighting events on the same planets we visit. Do-hyun watched the video again. The crowd looked bigger than usual, and the setup was fancier than his basic fighting ring. Soo-min had added lights, music, and even comfortable seating for spectators. She's doing everything we do, but with more style, Do-hyun muttered. How did she even find out about our operation? Maybe because you keep bragging about it in every spaceport bar, Jae-yun suggested. Before Do-hyun could respond, their ship's computer announced an incoming message. The screen showed a woman in an expensive business suit, sitting in what looked like a luxury office. Captain Kim, she said with a polite smile. I'm Soo-min Kang. I believe we're in the same line of work, the unauthorized entertainment business. Do-hyun asked carefully. Soo-min laughed. Let's call it specialized event management. I've been watching your operation. Very basic, but effective. However, I think it's time to take things to the next level. What do you mean? I'm organizing a major event on New Singapore next month. The corporate world, very elite, very profitable. Her smile turned sharp. Of course, if you're not interested in expanding your business, I understand. Some people prefer to stay. Small time. Do-hyun's face reddened. Small time. I started this business. These are my fight clubs. Captain, Jae-yun warned quietly. New Singapore has the strictest laws in the sector. But Do-hyun wasn't listening. We'll be there, he told Soo-min. And we'll show you what a real fighting event looks like. After the call ended, Jae-yun stared at her captain. This is a terrible idea. New Singapore has corporate security everywhere. They monitor everything. That's why it's perfect, Do-hyun said, already excited. No one would expect us to organize a fight there. We'll find a location they'd never suspect. Something hidden in plain sight. He pulled up information about New Singapore on his screen. The planet was covered in massive corporate towers and luxury apartments. Security cameras watched every street. Look at this, he said, pointing to a building blueprint. The Grand Corporate Plaza. 50 floors of offices, but the old maintenance levels underground are empty. We could use those. The most secure building on the most secure planet, Jae-yun said flatly. What could possibly go wrong? Exactly, Do-hyun said, missing her sarcasm. We'll invite the top fighters from all our other locations. Make it a championship event. Soo-min thinks she can do this better than us. We'll show her who the real professionals are. Jae-yun watched as her captain began making plans. She had a feeling that this competition with Soo-min was going to cause more trouble than all their previous events combined. But as usual, there was no talking Do-hyun out of it once he had set his mind on something. She quietly began researching escape routes from New Singapore. She had a feeling they were going to need them. Agent Ta-hyung-shin sat at his desk in the Interplanetary Law Enforcement Headquarters, studying reports from different planets. His office walls were covered with images and documents, all connected by red strings. In the center was a picture of Do-hyun Kim. Sir, his assistant said, entering the office. Officer Hae-nul Lee from Keros is on the call. Ta-hyung pressed a button on his desk, and Hae-nul's face appeared on the screen. Officer Lee, what have you found? The fighting events have stopped here, Hae-nul reported. But I've tracked money transfers to other planets. They're moving their operation around. Just like I thought, Ta-hyung said, adding another string to his wall. They stay in one place until they attract attention, then move to the next planet. Meanwhile, on New Singapore, Do-hyun was walking through the underground maintenance level of the Grand Corporate Plaza. The space was perfect, large, soundproof, and completely forgotten by the building's wealthy occupants above. The security cameras are a problem, Jae-yun said, checking her tablet. There are 312 cameras in this building, but none down here, Do-hyun replied proudly. These maintenance tunnels don't even appear on modern maps. We can bring people in through the old service entrance. Back at headquarters, Taehyung was receiving another call, this time from Meridian. Yoon-gae appeared on the screen. The situation here is complicated, Yoon-gae explained. The fighting events reveal the divide in our society. Some people want changes to our traditions. But the events were illegal, Taehyung said firmly. Yes, Yoon-gae agreed. But perhaps they showed us something important about our culture. Taehyung rubbed his eyes. This case was becoming more complex than he expected. It wasn't just about illegal fights anymore. These events were affecting entire societies. His computer beeped with an alert. Someone had just bought hundreds of private transport tickets to New Singapore, all for the same day. Got you, Taehyung whispered, typing quickly. He sent messages to every law enforcement agency in the sector. Officer Lee, I'm sending you coordinates. Something big is happening on New Singapore. In the maintenance tunnels, Do-hyun was meeting with his team of organizers. This will be our biggest event yet, he told them. Better than anything Soo-min Kang could organize. Captain, Jae-yun interrupted. Security patrols are increasing on all levels above us. They're searching for something. Or someone, Do-hyun said thoughtfully. He checked his communicator. Messages were coming in from his contacts on other planets, warnings about a coordinated law enforcement operation. Should we cancel? Jae-yun asked hopefully. Do-hyun looked around the space they had prepared. The fighting ring was set up. The lights were ready. Fighters from 3 different planets were already on their way. No, he said firmly. We're doing this, but we need to be smart. He turned to his team. New plan. We're going to make this look like something else, something that belongs in a fancy corporate building. Like what? Someone asked. Do-hyun smiled. Like the most exclusive executive team-building event in the galaxy. In his office, Taehyung received one final report. His eyes widened as he read it. Sir, his assistant asked. What is it? They're not hiding anymore, Taehyung said. They're advertising. Look at this. He showed her a fancy digital invitation. At the top, in elegant letters, it read, Executive Physical Engagement Seminar, hosted by Corporate Wellness Solutions. That's them, his assistant asked. Yes, Taehyung said, reaching for his coat. And they're either getting very clever or very desperate. Probably both. The Executive Physical Engagement Seminar was going perfectly. Do-hyun watched from his position near the entrance of the converted maintenance level. The space now looked like an expensive corporate training center. His team had added fancy decorations, comfortable chairs, and professional-looking signs everywhere. Registration is at 80% capacity, Jae-yun reported, checking her tablet. Most of them are actual corporate executives. They think this is a real team-building event. It is real, Do-hyun said with a smile. They're really building teams to fight each other. The elevator opened, and more people in expensive suits walked in. They looked around with approval at the fancy setup. None of them seemed to notice that the real fighting ring was hidden behind movable walls, ready to be revealed later. Captain, Jae-yun said suddenly, her voice tense. We have a problem. Look at the guest list. Do-hyun took her tablet and read the names. His face turned pale. The Vice President of New Singapore Banking Corporation, the daughter of the Planetary Trade Minister, the son of the Corporate Security Chief. He looked at Jae-yun in panic. Why are they here? Because you told everyone to invite their richest friends, Jae-yun reminded him. These are the richest people on the planet. Before Do-hyun could respond, diplomat Min Ji-song walked into the room. She was supposed to be monitoring corporate activities for the government. Instead, she was wearing exercise clothes under her formal jacket. Excellent setup, Min Ji said, looking around. I've been wanting to try this since I heard about your events on Kairos. Sometimes diplomatic work is very frustrating. A good fight might help. Do-hyun tried to smile. About that, maybe we should cancel today's event. Cancel? A new voice said. Everyone turned to see Su Min Kang walking in, wearing an expensive business suit. After all the advertising you did, after challenging my operation, she smiled coldly. I don't think so. In fact, I invited some special guests myself. More people entered behind her. Do Hyun recognized them from news reports. They were children of important government officials from 3 different planets. What are you doing? Do Hyun whispered to Sumin. Making things interesting, she replied. You wanted to prove you could organize better events than me. Let's see how you handle this one. The event began. Do Hyun watched nervously as the corporate executives and government officials' children paired up for what they thought were team-building exercises. But as the activities got more intense and the hidden fighting ring was revealed, something unexpected happened. They loved it. The trade minister's daughter turned out to be an excellent fighter. The corporate security chief's son organized a betting pool. Min Ji proved surprisingly skilled at both fighting and commentary. See, Sumin said to Do-hyun, everything is fine. Then Agent Tae-hyung Shin walked in through the main entrance, followed by Officer Hae-nul Lee and a team of security officers. Everyone froze. The trade minister's daughter was in the middle of a perfect takedown. The security chief's son was collecting bet money. Min-ji was cheerfully announcing the next match. This, Tae-hyung said slowly, is much worse than I expected. I can explain, Do-hyun started. Yes, Min-ji interrupted, stepping forward. I will explain. She straightened her jacket and turned to face Tae-hyung. This is now an officially sanctioned diplomatic cultural exchange program. If you shut it down, you'll create an international incident. Tae-hyung looked at the scene before him. Government officials' children, corporate leaders, and a diplomat, all involved in an illegal fighting operation. She's right, Hae-nul said quietly. This is too big to simply arrest everyone. Do-hyun looked at Min-ji with newfound respect. She had just saved them all. Then he saw Su-min's satisfied smile and realized something. She had planned this all along. The neutral space station, Liberty Point, floated peacefully in space, far from any planetary jurisdiction. Do-hyun had chosen it carefully for his final event. After the incident on New Singapore, he knew he needed something spectacular to end his fighting club career. The station manager has been paid, Jae-yum reported, checking her lists one final time. He will look the other way for the next 12 hours. Do-hyun nodded, looking around the converted cargo bay. His team had transformed it into the most impressive fighting venue yet. The ring sat in the center, surrounded by proper seats. Large screens hung from the ceiling, and the lighting system was perfect. Su-min is here, Jae-yum said suddenly. Do-hyun turned to see his rival entering with her own team. She looked elegant as always in her business suit, but something was different. She wasn't smiling. Quite a setup, Su-min said, looking around. But did you notice you're being watched? What do you mean? Officer Hae-nul Lee registered as a fighter under a false name, she said. Agent Tae-hyung has agents on 3 different decks. They're waiting to make arrests. Why are you telling me this? Do-hyun asked suspiciously. Because this isn't just your final event. It's mine too. Su-min straightened her jacket. I'm retiring from the fighting circuit, but I want it to end properly. The cargo bay began filling with people. Fighters from every planet they had visited arrived. The trade minister's daughter came wearing exercise clothes under an expensive coat. Min-ji arrived with a group of diplomatic observers. Even Yoon-gae from Meridian was there, bringing both young and old members of his society. Captain, Jae-yum said urgently, I've confirmed what Su-min said. Hae-nul Lee is registered for the 3rd match, and there are officers everywhere. Do-hyun looked at the growing crowd. Then he made a decision. He walked to the center of the ring and picked up the microphone. Welcome to the final match, he announced. Tonight is special. We have fighters from every world we visited. We have officials who want to arrest us. and we have Officer Hae-Newell Lee preparing to fight in the third match." The crowd went silent. Hae-Newell stood up, removing a disguise, looking surprised but not embarrassed. "But that's what makes this perfect," Do-hyun continued. "Because tonight isn't about breaking rules. It's about making new ones." "Min-ji, would you like to explain?" Min-ji stepped into the ring. "As a diplomatic representative, I am here to announce the formation of the Interplanetary Combat Sports Federation. Legal, regulated, and officially recognized by 4 planetary governments." The crowd burst into excited conversation. Hae-Newell walked to the ring, followed by Ta-hyung. "Is this why you invited us?" Ta-hyung asked. "To witness this." "Partly," Do-hyun admitted, "but also because Officer Hae-Newell is still scheduled for the third match, and I'm their opponent." Everyone watched as Do-hyun and Hae-Newell prepared to fight. Years of chasing each other had led to this moment. The match began, and it was everything the crowd hoped for. Do-hyun was quick, but Hae-Newell was skilled. They'd fought with respect, following all the proper rules. When it ended, both fighters shook hands. The crowd cheered. Even Ta-hyung was smiling. "So," Do-hyun said to Hae-Newell, catching his breath, "was it worth all those months of investigating me?" "Actually, yes," Hae-Newell replied. "But don't let that go to your head. You're still in trouble for all the illegal matches." "About that," Min-ji interrupted, "I believe we can work something out." 6 months after the final match at Liberty Point, Do-hyun sat in a comfortable office on New Singapore. The view from his window showed the busy streets of the corporate district. On his desk sat a shiny nameplate that read Cultural Athletics Advisor, Interplanetary Combat Sports Federation. Jae-yun entered the office, carrying her ever-present tablet. "The latest report shows legal fighting events are now happening on 12 planets," she said. "Revenue is triple what we made from the underground matches. And no one is trying to arrest us," Do-hyun added with a smile. "That's a nice change." The door opened again, and Officer Hae-Newell Lee walked in. These days, Hae-Newell worked as the Federation's head of security, making sure all events followed the new safety rules. "The Meridian Youth League is ready to start," Hae-Newell reported. Yoon-gai says mixing traditional meditation with regulated combat training has helped bridge the gap between generations. "Speaking of traditions," Jae-yun said, checking her tablet, "Sumin's luxury fighting venues are very popular with corporate executives. They're calling it stress management through controlled physical engagement." Do-hyun laughed. "That sounds much better than underground fight club." Agent Ta-hyung entered the office next, followed by Min-ji. They both served on the Federation's Oversight Committee, making sure everything stayed legal and diplomatic. "The trade minister's daughter won another championship," Min-ji announced. "She's becoming quite the celebrity. Her father has stopped complaining about the Federation, and crime rates have dropped on every planet with a legal fighting program," Ta-hyung added. "Turns out people prefer following rules when the rules make sense." Do-hyun looked around at everyone in his office. These people had once been his opponents. Now they were partners, working together to make something good out of his crazy idea. "I have a confession," he said. "When I started the fight clubs, I just wanted to make money and have fun. I never thought about helping people or changing societies." "That's why you needed us," Jae-yun said, "to turn a bad idea into a good one." "Speaking of good ideas," Hae-Newell said, "the Federation Council wants to talk about expanding to more planets. There's a lot of interest from the outer colonies." Do-hyun smiled and stood up. "Then we should go meet them. But this time, let's do everything legally from the start." As they walked to the council meeting, Do-hyun remembered something. "Jae-yun, whatever happened to that maintenance tunnel under the Grand Corporate Plaza?" "It's now the Federation's premier training facility," she replied, "complete with proper licenses and safety certificates. And the mining facility on Kairos, a regulated fighting academy. They're teaching the next generation of professional fighters." Do-hyun nodded, satisfied. Everything had worked out better than he could have imagined. His illegal fight clubs had evolved into something that helped people across the galaxy. It wasn't what he planned, but it was what the people needed. "You know what's funny?" he said as they entered the council chamber. "It turns out you actually are supposed to start fight clubs on every planet you visit. You just have to do it the right way." Jaehyun rolled her eyes, but she was smiling. Some things about her captain would never change, and maybe that was for the best.